So what is LalaTV? Well, LalaTV is everything and everything in between when it comes to business talks and features and all the key learnings you need to know. And of course, this is hosted solely by IWFCI.
Hey everybody, this is Lala, and this is the first episode of Lala TV. For those who may not really know what Lala TV is, well, Lala TV is an initiative from IWFCIM to have a platform for members to share their experiences, what they've learned, and basically to connect the dots for entrepreneurs and anyone that's looking for just really raw experience about what they've done and what they've gone through. So the first interviewee that I am actually really excited to speak to is Shin, and Shin is a life coach or a leadership coach for some. She has been in the industry from different perspectives, which was really interesting for me to read through her profile. She has been in marketing, in sales, but now really she is coaching people to be better leaders or better employees for their teams. So sit back, sit tight, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi everyone. Okay, so today we actually have a special guest on Lala TV. This is a topic that I find really interesting because it's not something you can calculate or measure. It is the human emotion. It's how you actually react and interact. And the one person that we have today is none other than Shin. I'm going to look for it here. Hi, Shin.
Hi!
I love it.
Lala. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so since we're starting off in a really high on a Friday, surprisingly, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, it can be, where were you from? What have you done over the years? And what has gotten you to this point?
Okay, thank you for the questions. My name is Shin, as you can see from here. So, for me, essentially, I've been in the sales and marketing arena for almost, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 18 years now. So, I'm very passionate to actually help people to actually, in terms of like selling. In terms of selling, is what I mean is selling ideas. Because the thing is that I noticed since I was in the sales industry, I was actually coaching my team. I realized the differentiator between a good salesperson versus a not so good salesperson is the ability to sell themselves. So that's actually something I'm very quite passionate about. So I started off my career in marketing. Then it's actually setting up my foundation to understand the market. Then after that, I progressed to become sales more the frontline staff, and slowly progressing to become the sales manager. And the funny thing is, as I was progressing in this career, I realized, actually, I can actually coach my team. So I think I can do better. Now I'm jumping from the pond to the ocean. So now I'm actually on my own now to do coaching and training business. So at this point of time to actually help more individual, especially managers or leaders who want to actually manage their team, how they can communicate better, articulate ideas better, and also how to sell ideas to bosses. So that's actually my passion at this point of time. And I hope to help more business owners to actually manage their team better.
That sounds really cool.
A little bit of me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like because when you're in marketing and when you're in sales, you kind of think of the end user. You're psychologically thinking of that person, but then now you actually transition to be the person that thinks from the people aspect. That means your internal people aspect. So what was it like to transition, from that thinking hat to this thinking hat? Because your goal set are different. And how do you actually measure those kind of accomplishments with the people that you work with?
Okay. Previously, because I'm working in a very confined, a small area compared to now, because now I'm actually expanding my horizon. I'm really looking at the different industries per se. Because last time I used to focus solely on properties, because that's actually my forte. But now, because of getting out from the pond, I say pond to the ocean, I'm actually immersed myself into a different industry to help people. And then I realized one thing: people issues are common, even though you're a different industry. So that's I find the commonality there. I think there's something that I can help these people to work better, work together. Not to me actually become coach. Actually, we co-create some solutions together. That is actually better because they are the industry expert. I'm not. So I also learning from them in this process. I'm also the learner. So they are teaching me something which I didn't know, and I'm also imparting something which I think may be working for them to see whether it's working out. And I like to use the term experiment.
Okay.
Yes. Why I like to use this term experiment? Because we don't know what's the outcome like. So I just invite them to just give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? That's why I'm going to ask them. What's the worst that can happen?
Indeed, I think humans are adaptable to any situation. I think that's the beauty about it, right? There's no guidebook of how one person goes through life. No way, right? But that was actually really interesting when you mentioned that you work with people who are experts, right? They feel very empowered that I've learned this subject, I've been in the industry. What more could I actually want? So, as a coach and mentor, after learning and going through the process and understanding, what works, what would you have told yourself in the past, because it's not easy. I'm sure you've met people with a very high strong ego per se, or personality. Let's put it personality, very strong personality. So how do you manage that, or what would you tell your younger self?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, on the hindsight, I was thinking, maybe I was young, and I was everything very gung ho, because I'm a very high achiever, So therefore, I like to actually like charge ahead, and sometimes got bruises along the way. But then I now, on the hindsight, now I'm thinking, maybe I should actually do it more tactfully. When I was younger, there will be my advice to my younger self then. Then I actually see it in the bigger perspective, because lack of experience itself will allow me to only look at what the scope I'm actually focusing on. That actually limits whatever that's outside. So that's actually, if you ask me this question, what would I do better when I was younger to actually have a bigger perspective versus to looking what am I doing at the point of time. So looking at what is my action that's going to affect people around me, that it will actually determine the outcome, and I will also the action that I'm going to take. So that will be something I would advise my younger self looking at it. That was something I think, not to say regret, but I say a good learning. It's a good learning for me now thinking back, since you asked me this question.
Everyone is very gung ho about things, right? Super gung ho. I want to do it. I want to get this. I want to achieve this. And I also face that problem because you tend to forget the details, especially in career, right? You want to do a million and one things, but 100 miles per hour. Oh, success, and you kind of forget, like, I need to breathe as a human being. I kind of need to, align better, because I might just be walking into something that's not correct or not right. That being said, that comes to our current new normal, right? The pandemic. And it's changed a lot of dynamics in the workforce, especially I think many people struggled for this whole digital working environment. And there were teams and there were bosses. I heard one person actually, there was articles coming out like, oh, there's a boss that sent cushions to their teammates to see how many hours a day they were on the chair. It's weird stuff that happens, during the pandemic. And there were other people that said, no, you need to coach them, you need to trust them. And I think this is where you fit very well in this situation, is that the mental mind of people, during the pandemic was really fickle-minded. I've probably changed rotations, I've probably changed work styles, from signing digital to non-digital and everything in between. So for you, what would you actually want to tell or advise entrepreneurs or business people when it comes to this so-called new normal? What should they always be aware of so if they don't kind of deter progress or even hurt feelings of employees who are working, who may not seem like they're working because of the digital barriers that they have?
Okay, there actually this question has a different aspect to it. Per se, what I meant by that is, first of all, we have to understand the way the culture of the company first. What they are expecting of the employee, because some employees are very micromanaged. So they need to track, are you really working? Make sure you call, check in, email, log into our intranet or something. Those is like micromanaging. So those are one type of employer. The other employer is actually they are more open. So long you deliver the result, I don't care how you do it. The process is not important to me. I just need the result. End of the day, that you can deliver. It's okay how you want to do it. So it really depends on the culture of the company. That's one per se. And then secondly, also we're talking about during the pandemic, you'll be surprised at first they are quite confused because we don't know first time during this pandemic, right? So we don't know how to arrange the work, how they go to get the people working while working from home because there's no experience before this. So they're actually learning how to do it by experimenting. You see, it's experiment in the process. So they actually testing out, see whether this work. If it doesn't work, then we try method number 2, number 3. But surprising now, even after the MCO, I actually interview some of the people. They actually prefer to work from home versus to going back to the office. So at first they say, no lah, going back to office better lah. At least I have my time, I segregate it. So now this is the me time, this is my home time, this is my work time. It's like a segregation in compartment of the time. But after they get used to it, people are very good at adapting to the environment. Like when you say Lala, I totally agree. We are very flexible at adapting to change one. Okay, because one thing maybe from survival, that's our survival skill. We have that in us, inborn in us. So we actually can adapt very easily one. The only thing, usually the resistance come at the front, whereby we are unfamiliar with something. That's why we got this scared. So after a while, they get used to it. They already forgotten the fear in the past already. So it's like a stage of moving on to the next level. So at this point of time, like I say, I interview some. They just say, I don't feel like going back to work.
I'm one of those people, man. I definitely love working from home. It's a different dynamic. I do feel lonely sometimes, Being Malaysian kan suka makan. You like to go out for lunch, you have your lunch stuff, and things are more how to say, very teratur, very, very managed properly. You have lunch, you have breakfast, and you go back home. But working from home is a double-edged sword. Sometimes I can get emails at like 6:30, right? At 6:37, and it's just like, but I feel guilty because I'm working from home. So I get that. I understand that. Definitely. Pros and cons.
Yeah. Then also the other thing we're talking about working from home, right, is actually not suitable for everyone. It depends. We're talking about people, right? We have to understand the personality, like you say. Because some people can work independently, so they actually prefer working from home. But some people, like, the together type,
Yeah.
must do everything together one. Then those people, during the MCO part, they are the most deprived of because they actually miss the camaraderie of the colleague, the relationship with the colleague. Actually, that's part that's missing. For this kind of people, they appreciate them, then they will find loneliness in this case. So for them, perhaps the productivity will be going down also in this case because of this. So you used to have a brainstorming session, you get great ideas from actually extremely idea. Now you can't, not to say you can't, you can still do it online, but the feeling is not the same.
Yeah. It's not an instant gratification. I do remember, when you have the boardroom, you brainstorm everyone together, everyone just comes in. Digital, you have one person always log in, log off, internet issues. It becomes like, can you hear me? You know what I'm trying to say. But one of the things that I do appreciate or appreciated in my companies was that we actually worked on having team lunches. At least one team lunch remotely. We order Grab and we'll just kind of on our video cameras. This is what I ordered today. It was something so it was something so very minor. Like it's just makan, it's just eating. But because when you are no longer communicating like how you used to, like you mentioned, you don't bump into people to say hi. That was a really good experiment for my boss, which was it was just to make sure that you shut off. Let's just kind of focus on everybody else. And speaking of which, when it comes to communication, in your opinion, definitely, emails, calling, and everything in between when it's a digital platform, what do you think works very well when it comes to leadership, when you want to get things done or when you want to create urgency? Because before, if my boss says it's important, I can tell from the facial features. I can tell like, okay, this looks like something I have to prioritize. But sometimes when it comes to an email, can you get this done? Can you get this done? Sounds very, it could just be, okay, this is one of my priorities. It's not going to be there. So what would you say would be the best means of communicating with a team when they are working like in a hybrid or remote situation?
Okay, that's a very valid, what they call, very question you ask. You see, before even we work from home, we will still have some miscommunication even though we see face to face. Do you agree?
Yeah.
True. So what's more when you're actually working from home because we don't know what's happening, not seeing everyone and things like that. So even more communication is required. So in this case, to actually make it work better, you need to constantly communicate every milestone of the way, and you can use omni-channel. Means there can be email you send already. Perhaps your colleague was busy with the family and never look at your email. Then you may want to follow up with a call or WhatsApp.
Mhm.
So then at least you keep everyone in the loop what's happening there, because we sometimes we just assume, oh, I click the send button, okay, Lala immediately accept receive already. I don't care what happening, then I just go and do my stuff. So that's actually not true, because then it will actually like you'll be waiting, hey, why no response from this person? 1 day, 2 day.
Yeah.
So the person may have overlooked your email, maybe tons of email there, you'll be like at the bottom of the list, they actually missed it out. So it's good to actually just take it one more step to actually communicate more. Because the thing is that now we cannot have the luxury of meeting your colleague face to face. So it's good to just pick up the phone and just do the traditional way, just have a hi, how
Yeah.
are you? But listening to the voice, it has some of like a, I would say more the healing kind of energy, because you are
Mm.
transmitting a lovely voice to the other person who's listening to you. So it's
Agree.
also like a human connection versus a very robotic, mechanical way of just sending email or WhatsApp, because they can't tell what's your expression or what kind of tone you're using. They do not know from the text itself. So it's good to actually connect sometimes through the voice, or maybe just video call with just nice, just like WhatsApp video.
Yeah.
Yeah, can be
Agree.
good. Out.
But
Yeah, out in
that
Zoom. Yeah.
But then for me, it's like I noticed. Okay, for those people in my generation, like I'm quite old already, so calling. Yes, I feel always really old in my industry. So for us, calling someone is it's not scary. I noticed this. It's like call lah. It's not going to harm you. I'm going to call a colleague.
Yes.
Worst case scenario, he doesn't pick up. But I noticed those that were much younger than me, those that I was like mentoring or in their 20s, 21, 22. Wow, calling was like can get panic attack. It was very difficult because number one, they come from a very digital era. They come from the land of communicating via Instagram, communicating via Snapchat.
True.
So when I say that, you should call them, you should buzz, and then automatically the question was like, is that too much? Am I invading? So I always feel that the point of communication is to make sure that everybody is in a safe space. I used to reiterate to them so many times, it's okay. You can call me anytime, even if something burns at night. I'm here. I'm not going to bite your head off or anything. But again, they will choose that as the last mode. It's like they'll WhatsApp me first, they'll email me, they'll do something. I'm like, if it's really urgent, just call me. I could be driving, I could be doing something. But if I call that, I know you're urgent. So that was just something that I thought was quite funny, is that the generational difference of communicating is quite scary for me, because I always have to kind of change how I talk to people as well when I see okay, this person is definitely a Gen Z. This is a totally different way of communicating.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I could totally resonate with you, because like you say, younger generation now growing up like just the Snapchat or WhatsApp era, so they're just used to socialize through texting. So it's more like a text culture versus like the olden days, the call culture. So now that's why nowadays they even like putting just not just chat, they can just put the voice message. So to just send it.
Yeah.
So
That's a good
at
idea.
least you can hear some form of voice, but it's not so intrusive per se, or you must answer my call now. So not too bad in a way. So at least
soften the blow.
yeah.
All right. So, okay, when we talk about career wise, this is something that I always ask most of the ladies that come over on the show, is that everyone that I've so far met has a very diversified portfolio. Like, they don't end up doing what they learn at all. Like, I'm doing marketing, but now I'm not in marketing. I'm doing community management, which is so not the scope that I went for. So, in your words, was it important, and is it tough to actually diversify your portfolio in terms of your experience? Like taking that leap of faith, what would you feel, or what would you tell somebody who's looking at changing their career path?
Okay. For me, I will just say 3 words: go for it.
There you go. Just do it. There you go.
Just go for it. What? Like come back to the same question. What have you got to lose? Just give it a go. The worst thing that can happen is that, okay lah, you try out, it doesn't work, just go back to what you used to do lor. So I don't think, I should say we only live once, just give it even though I'm not that young, so I still like the YOLO concept. You only live once. So why don't you actually do a favor to yourself to maybe pursue the dream you had before when you were younger and try something new that actually you found a new, maybe you along the way in your path, you any person can actually can discover something new and you're passionate about. So no point holding on to a Titanic, right? When you actually found another raft that can actually sail you to a better place and whatnot, right? So if you're feeling that your energy is down, we're gonna going back to work again. Oh lama, I don't want to see this boss. Hey, why you want to do this suffering? The world is a very suffering world already. So why you want to do this disfavor to yourself, right?
Yep.
So I will highly recommend if you really found something new, most importantly, before you jump onto the raft, have a backup plan first. At least you make sure the raft is there, lah. Okay, that's the most
Calculated
important.
risk.
Yes, calculated risk. At least you say, okay, I just want to just go and jump it. So I share my own experience because I've been working like so long, right, in the same industry in the property for almost 16 years. So that
Wow.
then I took 1 year, to really think, hey, should I jump? Should I jump? Should I jump? Because you're so comfortable in that zone. I'm so comfortable in that zone. Then I say, hey, should I jump? Then the same friend also say, what have you got to lose? So these few words actually changed my thing. So like, okay, yeah, what have I got to lose? Then ask myself this question. Then I say, okay lah, just jump. So until you jump, at first were like, like you jump because I didn't find the rock first before I jump. So I was just
Wow.
like, imagine I'm just at the ocean, like just swimming like this.
Oh my
While
God.
looking for a buoy or a plank or something. So that was what I did. So I highly recommend, please look for a rock first before you jump. At least have an idea what you want to do. Because last night I was thinking, okay, I think I'm going to jump on the pond to the ocean. But I never think of, hey, do I have these tools or not? I didn't really think. I just jump. You jump, I jump. I jump. So I jump already. So then, okay, I still struggle. I was still swimming, looking until like the last 2 years. Then I decided, okay, this is my anchor already. I found an anchor, so I'm anchor myself doing this. So earlier was not really used to my so like soul searching process. I don't know if it's a midlife crisis or what. I'm not too sure. Yeah, but at some point of time, I think I know ladies, very ladies there. I think some point of time you will have this kind of feeling when you
Yeah.
after taking care of yourself, your career, your family or not. Then the next step, hey, what am I going to do about myself? You will have this kind of question, like behind your mind. So it's okay if that's actually dingling is bothering you. It's okay. So don't just suppress it. Just go and do it. Think, okay, I'm taking care of. I talk to my whatever family member. Okay, they can support me in some ways, or your friends can actually support you in some ways. Then just go for it. And your financially, so like you can still manage, but maybe not
Yep.
luxury. Let's say you're going to take the overseas travel like 10 times a year, but maybe you scale it down 5 times a year, for example. So of course, when you actually change a path, doesn't mean you have to change your lifestyle. No, you still can enjoy it, but just how you can actually balance it to maybe scale it down because you're pursuing something new. You may have like a learning curve.
Yep.
So you might want to learn to do this, like what I did. So I take time to learn. Took 1 year. Also, I took 1 year to think, took 1 year to learn, and then few years to
Find your
actually master.
anchor. Yep.
Yeah, found my anchor and then just master it, and then become better and better along the way. And I must say, if I look at the hindsight again, if I didn't jump what I'm supposed to jump, right, I wouldn't have expanded my horizon and then meet many different people, more interesting people than my only limited circle of people. And it's also broadened my knowledge and also exposure with different people, more interesting people. I must say, I didn't say like they are not interesting. They are more interesting. Okay, more interesting people.
Okay.
Yeah, so it will actually make my life more fulfilled and also how to say, open up a lot of doors for me, and then also open up my windows of opportunity and see things in a different way. So I think it somehow it sort of matured me in a way. So in terms of my thinking and my maturity of understanding how to deal with more different type of people.
That's a very
So,
nice story. I
yeah.
really like that because, yeah, I think when we're younger, we already set like this weird goal. Okay, I want to be HOD or I want to sell this amount of houses. And then later on in life, we realize that we forget that as we grow older, our emotions change, our thinking changes, what we want in our life changes. And you're right, sometimes we tend to keep that voice down because this the scary, you're like, this one is very safe, this, I know this, I can do this with my eyes closed. But whether it enriches your life, whether it is going to make you happy as a person, is totally different. Totally different than that. But
this part actually is quite interesting because you were mentioning it took you a year, to figure things out, and then a year to actually learn and cope with that. So my question here is that no one really likes to talk about failures, right? No one actually likes to touch that. Oh, it took me like 5 tries to get you where I am, because everybody likes the end story. I'm success. I've earned a living that I love, but the journey there, I don't think it's easy. I never think that journey is easy, and it takes a tough cookie to really go through that whole motion. So let's talk a little bit about how you actually had to cope with those, those dark areas or those situations where you felt, I didn't achieve what I set my goal to. So what next? What now? What do I do?
Mm. I think fear is definitely there. I would say I won't deny fear is definitely there, especially you're jumping to do something I'm unfamiliar with. For my case, so like jumping from property for so many years, I just
Yep.
let go like this because I actually try to actually do two things at the same time.
Hmm.
But then I realized, oh no, it's really taking up too much of my time and I cannot cope. And then I want to transition it, but I still go back to my old self, which I do
Yep.
not want that. So I have to make a decision at that point of time. So I just have to let go. Because sometimes you have too greedy. For me, I'm too greedy. Instead, you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just like you want to go to the east and you want to go to the west at the same time. So how can it be possible? So that's the question I was having, because I think I thought I can manage and having both best of the both world, that kind of feeling. But in the end, really have to make a decision. That's the anchor point. Because earlier I was so searching, the time was okay, got the opportunity to try this. Okay, go and try this and try everything. In the end also, I think I tried already, this is not what I want. Then I tried already, not what I want. So then it doesn't lead to what I'm most passionate about. Then I have to really go and find. And then one thing about finding the right path is actually talking to a mentor. Industry or maybe a certain area specialist. It will help to actually help me to actually see a different perspective, what is the pros and cons versus I explore it myself. Because when I explore it myself, then I will say, okay, I maybe hit a bump over this side. Then I'll try and really hit a bump. So it takes a lot of longer journey, I would say longer learning journey. But the idea is it's okay to actually make that mistake in a way. Because like for example, I tell you, when I go and join certain courses, I found that sometimes I'm being duped also. So they say they are guru, but they're not really the guru that I was. They advertise it's like it was so
Wow.
good, but things that no. So I thought I want to follow this guru path. Then follow, I think this guru just want to make money for me. So it's not really helping me, that kind of thing. So it happens when you're along the way, because the perception they picture to other people is like this. It's a very rosy kind of environment that you go to,
Yep.
wow, I'm so looking forward. But when you really go into, alamak, it's totally not what I expected. So that's the part. So it happens that way, and then it's part of the learning journey. At least now I know I have to be wiser already. Choose, don't simply go and people say something good, you just go and follow. We have to also, we also have to have some sense, common sense. Common sense.
I think you have that gut instinct also when you go to that kind of places. You're like,
But you'll be surprised, Lala, you'll be surprised when you're actually in a confused state, right? You cannot make a good decision.
Okay, that's true.
That was happening to me because I'm still searching, So whatever people say, then say, oh, okay lah, can explore. Okay lah, can explore.
Your compass is all over the place already, right? So,
correct. So it's very dangerous in a way. Now talking about the failure experience, so that if I can actually help someone, please don't do that anymore. If not, hear my story. So because it's like you're spinning around, so it's not really helping in a way. And then, like I said, talking to the right person, you have to also be mindful, especially if they are too good to be true. Sometimes it may not be what is actually promised. That's the only thing that actually have to exercise with caution, I would say. But of course, like if you join like a like-minded community, like we are in, so then there's a different support in a way. I think realize also why the fear comes in also for me, I was thinking is because I'm lack of support. Everything I have to do myself. So then you feel like, oh, everything I have to do myself, I cannot get any help because the people around me are the similar industry I was in, so they're not really going to help me much per se if I want to pursue this particular area. So I need to start from scratch all over again. So having a like-minded community does help because they understand my struggle. They understand what I'm going through because they were there. So they will say, okay, don't worry, Shin, at least come here, get on board. Now I have a big raft for you. So just come join us instead of you finding the raft yourself. So that I think that's the power of community. Lah. So
Yeah,
what
I
you
agree.
doing the community, since you're doing a more community management, right? So maybe you can share a little bit what to take
Yeah,
us
I
on.
mean, the part where you say about IWFCIM, yeah, I would definitely agree. Finding the right community is so important. I have actually went into, my industry is more to tech and blockchain. And that is the toughest community to find because like you said, when people are confused or, totally new industry, everyone seems so credible, so legit and everything. But then later on, you realize that you need to know your own information, number one, prepare yourself for that. Number two, like you said, like-minded people with positive goals, and they're not there to like make a killing out of you because there will be many people. It's like, oh, this person might have like connections I want, and let's do something. And it's never been like that for this community. And like you mentioned, Shin, it's tough to tell what is actually good for you and what is not when you're kind of super fresh in the industry. And I really like talking to ladies who have actually had the experience of running businesses or dealing with people. And this is the part where I actually want to ask you because I do face this sometimes with my colleagues or even in the past where what would you actually advise people who are in a position to lead? How do you cope or mentor with colleagues who say, for example, had a failure or they didn't achieve their KPIs? Because you're too lenient and then it becomes it's just something that is they'll just put it at the back of their mind. Okay, next year I'll try to do it or not. But then too harsh and then they get emotional about it or it becomes a problem, a barrier between your colleague and yourself. And nobody wants that. Everybody wants to have a very healthy relationship with their peers. So what do you do when it comes to dealing with someone who has actually gone through failure, or how do you make them better from that mistake or that incident?
Okay, that's a valid question. The first thing, if you ask me as a leader, do not go and jump in to give your advice first. I think that's what people do. It's like,
Yep.
oh, instead I'm the superhero, I'm going to save the day. That kind of approach. Please don't do that because it's not going to help the situation. What I would suggest is that if at first just try to understand whether the person needs your guidance or needs your advice in the first place. Because no point if they're actually covering the ear, or
Yeah.
closing their heart, and or closing their mind, is that you're not going to help them at all. So the first thing we would do as a leader is to try to understand them first before you offering any solution. Let's say they want a failure, you want to understand whether they want to talk about it. If they don't, it's okay. Then just be there for them. Just by being there, you don't have to offer anything. People will feel appreciated. So just being there first, and then after a while they're comfortable with you, then only you ask permission. Ask permission whether you would like to hear from me to see how can I guide you on this if you like that. So if they give you a permission, then it's actually a good go.
Yep.
If they do not, then it's just like, hey, you just give me advice only, I didn't ask for it. Why you gonna kepochi go and tell me, right? So that's the part. So if that's okay, then build the trust first, get them comfortable with you. Then after that, ask permission to actually allow yourself to maybe can advise, allow you to actually advise or give some guidance. If no, it's okay, just continue to be there, just to be supportive at the side. If they need anything, just let me know. If it's not, that's okay. Just like navigating from the side for a while, but also give yourself some time because sometimes your project is actually running, but then the person is still sunk in the sinkhole there. So you I know you're as a leader, we are actually in a very anxious stage. Okay, we are
Yep.
moving fast already. You are still very far behind. How can I help this guy to actually back up? So
Yep.
that will be the thinking. So we have to see whether they open for it. Of course, give a timeline. If it doesn't, then you have to take a more drastic measure to say, okay, I've been here supporting you for 1 month plus already, and I can see maybe there's not progressing or not. Is there something I can actually really work on with you and things like that? So we can ask that kind of question. So then after that only we'll see. Because then after explain your situation, sometimes we just assume they know. As a leader, right? They assume we know, and you can't see for yourself. We are progressing very fast already, you're still behind. But sometimes they do not because they're still in that closed state of
Yep.
grieving for their own failure. Sometimes they're grieving stage, they don't see anything else except for themselves. So it's good to actually let them know the perspective, actually where the company is heading already, what our team is heading already. So now you are here, we are here, you are here. Tell them that actually there's a gap there. So now I give you an option, give them a choice. Do you want my advice or want a guidance to actually be a part so I can actually keep you up to speed, or you decided to actually move away? Give them this choice. Then they have to make the decision from there. So the timeline, okay, give your whatever the love and care you need of a certain time. Therefore, the people need the empathy is definitely there. But then because of the other part, we still need to life has to go on. So the thing is that we need to actually let the staff know there's a tough decision you want to make. So what is the choice they want? So let them have the choice. Instead, we give the instruction, okay, you need to follow this. If not, then you're just out. So it's like very harsh, right? So versus they actually, you give them a choice, you give them a timeline. This is a choice I would like to hear from you certain time. Then you get to give us a decision. You want to just be with us already, or you just want to leave behind. So then they will know. By then they will have to think about it, and they will know what decision to make. They will come back from there. So I will say it a more empathetic way to actually deal with this kind of stuff, because we understand they are very delicate at this point of time. But at the same time, we also want to move fast. So that's the part we need to do.
I really like that thinking process or that thought process about it, especially the part where it's not always helpful to want to save the day. That one is it's something that I've seen with different management styles, right? Traditional managers, like the really old school type, or they would just like shoot you. They're like, this is what I would do. This is something that happened to me. I had it worse. I used to remember someone like saying that to my colleagues, like, I had a worse experience. You're fine. And then my colleague is just like, it's the end of the world for me. And when you get something that kind of makes it seem smaller, it was kind of a bad thing, and I was just kind of like, no,
Awkward.
it is really awkward. But the way that you're actually portraying how things should be done is very similar to how the new age generation works. I used to have people asking, why are the younger generations so very hard to keep? Like they tend to like, okay, if this doesn't really help my mental health or even help my or enrich my life, goodbye. They're very good at knowing what they want, which is good. It kind of means it's easier for you as a company to weed out, okay, this is the kind of criteria that we need for this generation. But again, I think it's always a learning curve, like you said. No matter how old we are, no matter how high we end up going, it's not going to be that one way to mentor a person, or there's not going to be one way to talk to a person. Everyone changes. You get the younger workforce, they're so different. It's so different. When I entered the workforce, it was like, no, this is wrong. Do it my way. There was no two ways about it. But you try doing that now, you're going to get a totally different reaction. Not the same at all.
I totally agree with you what you have said, because at least we know as a leader, we need to know what our staff is actually experiencing, and especially the era gap, the generation gap, and the things they see compared to what we see is actually totally different, because the needs are different. So understanding the needs is actually the important part to unlock the miscommunication part, whereby you know actually how to address different needs, then you actually get the result that you want. So understanding the needs, I think the keywords here is the needs.
Yeah, that is true, because there was an incident where we offered something really, really high for someone very young, right? But they still turned us down because of one thing and one thing only, which was there was no flexibility in working. And as a person who is very traditional, you think that Allah is just going to the office, what's wrong with doing that? What's wrong with going through that motion? But the younger generations, no, it's for them, it's you can pay me less, but if you give me something that I have time to work on myself, I will go for that, because that's how I want things to be. And communicating with that is always a curveball, because there will be traditional companies who are not open to that, unfortunately. But hopefully, with new generation and leaders who are willing to talk to someone like Shin, they need to know that things have to change. Not everything is right. Even though you reach your KPI, you make your how many million or whatever it may be, always try to find something to adapt and learn to progress. So you don't have a hiccup where, once my managerial staff starts to retire and I want new staff in, it's like, it's not the same at all. All right, so to end things up, Shin, is there anything you'd like to share about what you're doing, how people can connect with you, or anything at all, your services, go all the way, go wild about it.
Okay, coming back to just now the previous question, right? I like to actually end that part with the quote is actually for things to change, I must change.
Nice.
So yeah, so if you cannot change others, we only change ourselves, how we do things. So that's the part I like to add on. I can talk about my services because my target customer looking at is actually I'm helping more of the HODs or leaders or especially manager because I noticed actually a gap, especially when you're actually promoting from within, you're starting from one level, you're actually moving up to the next step, there's actually a gap. For me, my job is to coach or mentor people who want to actually bridge the gap to become a different level. So if you are interested to want to know how to bridge the gap, then I'll be the one who can assist you if you are looking at this solution. So I would like to impart this to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Shin. We'll see you soon. And
All
thanks
right.
everyone for watching. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. So I really do hope everyone enjoyed that session with Shin. I think she was really candid about a lot of the situations that we discussed. And if there's one thing that you can take from, from that experience that she went through is that we are constantly learning as leaders. And like we have spoken, the pandemic actually was a real test of one's true leadership. Not everybody felt comfortable with the situation, and that is a given, and that is totally fine. And like I mentioned, it's all about learning. And even for Shin, it's a trial and error. Keep on testing, keep on trying, and move forward. And if you guys would like to be on the show, please do contact the team. We'll be happy to listen up.